I was sitting on the edge of the couch, wrapped in an old fleece blanket. It still smelled like cinnamon. The scent had lingered from last year. The room was quiet. The only light came from the mini Christmas tree's string lights. I had carried it up the stairs myself. It was small, just over a meter tall, a little crooked, decorated with various ornaments I had collected at flea markets over many years. But it was my tree. And tonight, it was the only light in the room. From outside, I could hear the quiet laughter of neighbors, the clinking of glasses, someone playing Silent Night on the piano, slightly off-key. I tried to smile, to pretend it didn't hurt. But it was the same as always. This was the third Christmas in a row without a call, a message, or even a card from my family. The first year, they said they'd mixed up their schedules. The second year, they said they didn't want to bother me. They thought I was busy. And this year, they simply stayed silent. No explanations at all. And then, suddenly, my phone rang. My heart skipped a beat. What if someone remembered? Maybe they decided to reach out at the last minute? I opened the message, and it was an email with a breakdown of expenses for a family vacation. A PDF file. I opened it. At the top, in bold letters, New Year's Eve party on a yacht. Total expenses and the amount, $6,100. To be split 3 ways. My share, $3,050, depending on participation. I blinked. This is a joke. I started looking for any hint of sarcasm. A smiling face with winking eye emoji. A laughing emoji. A joke. Nothing. Just a list, yacht rental, bar, service, and a polite reminder to transfer the money to Dad by January 5th. I didn't even know there was going to be a party. No one had invited me, not a word, not a message. But they remembered me when it was time to pay. My stomach clenched. I put the phone down and looked back at my little tree. The lights kept blinking as if everything were fine. I used to love Christmas. Mom and I would bake cookies, my brother Braxton and I would argue over which movie to watch. He wanted action films, I wanted something warm and cozy. Dad would get tangled in the lights and grumble. We were loud, chaotic, but together. And now they have a yacht and I have a bill. I stared at it until the numbers blurred. They didn't even say hello, they just asked for money, as if I were a stranger, useful only when a bill needed paying. I leaned back into the couch. A lump in my throat. There was no place for me at their table, but there was plenty of room for my share. And that said everything. I looked at the tree. But all I could see was the bill. $3,050 to pay for a party I helped make possible without even knowing about it. It wasn't just a bill, it was a reminder. Of the past I tried to forget. Of how they ignored me and how I allowed it. When I was a kid, Dad called me independent. He said it with pride, like it was a medal. At picnics, in letters, in front of guests. Angela can handle it herself. I used to smile back then, thinking he was proud of me. But over the years, it stopped sounding like a compliment. It became like a quiet door being closed. Like, I don't need attention, help, or gifts. So it's okay not to call me, not to write, not to hug me. I can handle it myself after all. And I was like that until it started to hurt. But Braxton never had to prove anything. They just loved him. He could show up late, crash Mom's car, forget someone's birthday, and he was still the beloved son. Everyone revolved around him. That's just how he is, they'd say. That's Brax. But I'd get a lecture for forgetting one assignment. Or if I got an A, they'd wonder why it wasn't an A+. And now, a party on a yacht. Not just any party, a celebration of his new job. He'd become a regional manager at a real estate agency. But you know what no one mentioned? That 3 months ago, he was panicking. He sent me his resume, 2 pages full of errors and incomplete sentences. On the phone, he whispered, "I don't think I'm right for this." I didn't sleep for 2 nights. I rewrote everything, fixed the text, formatted it, wrote a cover letter, even did a mock interview with him. He got it all, the job, the yacht, the bill. And I didn't even get a thank you. Not one personal word. Now I'm supposed to pay $3,050 for a party I helped arrange without even knowing it existed. And that was the most painful part. Not the money, not the fact that I wasn't invited, but that I had put in effort for someone who would never do the same for me. He wouldn't even think of it. They still call me independent, but really, they just mean unnecessary. And for the first time, I think I understood. I don't want to wear that label anymore. I am not okay. I haven't been for a long time. I looked at the bill, then opened my banking app. Without thinking twice, I entered my dad's account details. Amount: $1. Memo: Santa forgot me too. No anger. Just a phrase. Maybe someone would laugh if they understood what it meant. I hit send. The screen blinked. The transfer went through. And right at that moment, I felt something shift inside me. Not relief, but movement. Like I had finally said something I'd been holding in for years. I put the phone down, stood up, walked over to my small kitchen table, and opened my laptop. Time. Netflix is mine. My Spotify Premium is mine. My Amazon Prime, HBO, Disney Plus. Everything is registered in my name. Over the years, I just added them. It was easier than listening to complaints or reproaches. But not today. I opened each account and started cleaning house. Remove user, change password, sign out of all devices, confirm. I didn't feel strong, but I didn't feel weak either. I felt cleansed, like I was washing off an old, invisible dust that had been clinging to me ever since I learned to pick up after others' mistakes, asking for nothing in return. Next was the family phone plan. I'd been paying for it for almost 4 years. At first, they'd say, "We'll Venmo you." Then they just stopped asking. The last transfer from Dad was 11 months ago. I went to the mobile carrier's site and deleted their numbers, one by one. Then I got to the credit cards. 2 of them were in my name. I'd given them to my parents once, for emergencies. I should have closed them long ago, but something always stopped me. What if they needed them? What if they made a scene? What if I seemed ungrateful? Now, I didn't care. I froze both cards and applied for new ones with different numbers. No one would ever touch my name without my consent again. When I closed my laptop, it was already late into the night. The apartment was quiet. In the corner, the little tree still glowed. I wasn't angry, and I wasn't even sad. It was just over. Enough being convenient. Enough staying silent. Enough giving everything just because it was expected of me. I couldn't sleep for a long time that night, but for the first time in years, I didn't feel like I owed anyone anything. In the morning, it started. First, a message from Mom. "Angela, something's wrong with Netflix. It keeps saying unavailable. Did you change something?" "No, hi." "No, Merry Christmas." Just why was I logged out? I didn't reply. Then the calls from Dad started, followed by a voicemail, half annoyed, half confused. "There seems to be some mistake with the phone bill. Call me back, we'll sort it out." I deleted the message without finishing it. Then the family chat lit up. "Braxton, what's going on? Why can't I log into Amazon?" "Mom, nothing is working." "Braxton again? Seriously? This is childish." Angela could have just said something instead of pulling a stunt like this. I stopped. Childish. A stunt. As if I'd just thrown a tantrum. As if silence and personal boundaries were whims, not self-protection. I scrolled through the chat history. Weeks of jokes, plans, photos. No one had invited me there. No one had tagged me in a single personal message. Nothing, except for convenience. I was the background, the spare, someone to help if needed. And now I was suddenly important because they couldn't watch a show or order something with free shipping. I didn't reply. Not because I couldn't, but because there was nothing to say. Anything I could have said would have made me feel guilty. And I didn't want that anymore. No one asked if I was okay. No one cared where I was, how my weekend was, if I needed anyone or anything. The only thing that mattered to them was what I provided: convenience, help, access to things. They didn't miss me. They missed the convenience I provided. I muted the family chat, turned off notifications. And that silence became my first real gift in years. My family had never prioritized me. It was always about what I could fix, what I could pay for without complaining. And now that I had unplugged it all, pulled the cord that held up that illusion, they were scrambling. Not because I was gone, but because their comfort was gone with me. It was the most honest conversation they'd ever avoided having with me. Around noon, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, thinking it was spam or someone from the family trying to reach me another way. But something made me pick up. "Hello, this is Erica from the fraud department at Bankridge. Is this Angela Albright?" "Yes," I answered cautiously. "We received a report of suspicious activity on 2 credit cards issued in your name. Do you have a few minutes to verify some information?" I closed my eyes for a second. "Yes, of course," I replied, my voice steady. She started listing the cards I had frozen 2 days ago. The ones I'd gotten in my name, but given to my parents, just in case. They'd been using them for gas, groceries, dinners out. At first, occasionally, then constantly. "A complaint was filed about the cards being blocked," Erica said. "The person claims they had permission to use them." I exhaled. "It's not fraud," I said calmly. "I'm the account holder. And I froze the cards myself. No one else is on those accounts." There was a pause. I added, "The people who were using them, my parents, knew the cards weren't theirs. They used them without my consent. I tolerated it for too long. But it's over now." She was silent for a moment, then I heard her typing. "Understood," she said after a few seconds. "Just to clarify, you're aware of all the recent changes and you authorized them?" "Yes," I said. "That's correct." I paused. "This isn't fraud. It's just a family that treated me like a doormat." I hadn't meant to say it out loud, but once I did, I didn't take it back. Erica let out a small, quiet laugh. "Not mean, just human." "I'll close the complaint and make a note in the system," she said. "Thank you," I replied. "Take care of yourself, Angela," she added, and hung up. I stared at my phone screen for a long time, my own words still echoing in my head. I hadn't yelled, hadn't lost my cool. I just told the truth. And strangely, it didn't feel like a scene. It felt like freedom. They wanted to use my name, my money, my silence. But now they had to face a new version of me. The one who wasn't afraid to be heard. I didn't check the family chat again. Notifications kept coming, but I didn't open them. I already knew what would be there: awkwardness disguised as concern, guilt trips hidden behind the word family. I didn't reply, not because I was angry, not even because I was hurt, but simply because it was over. I was done. For the first time in years, I let the silence stay. I didn't rush to fill it with explanations. I didn't try to smooth over their discomfort. I was no longer the manager of everyone else's emotions, as if that were my job. At first, it was strange. The silence. No requests, no calls, no bills dumped on me. No superficial conversations that always had something hidden underneath. Just silence. Then, unexpectedly, New Year's Eve arrived. I had no plans. I hadn't even made any. But around 7 p.m., I put on my favorite sweater and went to a small restaurant downtown. Nothing fancy, just warm lighting and quiet music. I asked for a table by the window. The waiter didn't seem surprised I was alone. I ordered a glass of wine, a ribeye, and mashed potatoes. The food came hot, unhurried. I ate slowly. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wonder what they were doing or if they were thinking of me. I just ate. When midnight came, people around me quietly clinked glasses and wished each other a happy new year. I raised my glass too. Not to the new year, but to the part of myself that no longer begs to be accepted. For too long, I'd settled for crumbs. Emotional leftovers. Last-minute invitations, if any at all. I was always the understanding one, the one who bent so others could be comfortable. But that night, I chose myself. Not out of spite, not as a protest, but simply because I was tired of waiting. Waiting to finally be seen by people who only needed me when they wanted something. I paid the bill, left a good tip, and stepped out into the cold, fresh air. The streets were bright with lights. People were celebrating, but I didn't feel lonely. I was no longer waiting for that one message that was never going to come. I had chosen myself. Finally. The email came in the second week of January. Subject line, "We need to talk." I almost deleted it without opening it. But something inside me stopped. I wanted to know what he'd come up with, what version of the story he was going to tell. I clicked. The message was short, neat. He tried to sound caring, but admitted nothing. He wrote that he'd noticed I'd seemed tense lately, and then came the kicker: family has to stick together, even when it's hard. We shouldn't forget that. Period. There it was. Pretty words full of nostalgia, but essentially empty. Not a word about the yacht party. Not a word about the bills. He didn't even ask how I was feeling. He just hinted that I had broken something I was supposed to protect. I stared at the screen for a long time, then hit reply. I didn't explain, didn't justify myself. I just wrote 4 words: then why didn't you? No greeting, no signature. Just a mirror so he could see himself and his hypocrisy. I hit send and closed my laptop. I didn't need an answer. I knew an honest one wouldn't come anyway. For years, they called me strong. The one who could handle anything, the one everything rested on. But over time, their strong just became convenient. They didn't need to invite me. They didn't need to thank me. They could just use me and forget me. And now I had said what they didn't expect. I asked a question they couldn't brush off. It wasn't rude, but it hit its mark perfectly. I didn't need an apology. I needed them to stay in the silence they themselves had created, where I was only useful, but never truly needed. The next day, Braxton wrote, "You're destroying our family. How could you do this to us? You owe us more than this. Period." I read it once and didn't reply. He didn't even ask what hurt me. He didn't acknowledge that they had hurt me. He only saw one thing: the system where he was comfortable was falling apart. But I wasn't going to fix it anymore. I was no longer the bridge, the buffer, the peacemaker. I was the question they were afraid to answer. And that was enough. The following weeks passed in silence. Real silence. I was rebuilding my life. This time, with boundaries they couldn't cross. I opened new bank accounts, only in my name. Changed passwords, got new cards, updated payment addresses. Called the mobile company, switched to a new plan. Just for me. No shared numbers, no quiet add-ons in the background. I moved all my subscriptions to a new email address. One my family didn't know and never would. It wasn't about revenge. It was about freedom. With each change, I felt something inside me unfurl. Like I was shedding a weight I never agreed to carry. No more urgent calls to fix everything. No more forgotten birthdays that I still sent gifts for. No more being the only one who remembered everything for everyone else. For years, they'd offloaded responsibility, worries, expectations onto me. Now, I was simply putting them down. Putting them down, and breathing became easier. The apartment felt different. Not bigger or more beautiful. Just lighter. Quieter. Calmer. I started lighting candles again. I cooked dinner for myself with love. I finally slept through the night, not checking my phone in fear of some new family crisis that only I could solve. Messages stopped coming, or they came, but I just didn't see them. I unplugged everything, deleted shortcuts, turned off notifications. I no longer wanted to see their hurt feelings disguised as concern. This year, no one got anything from me. No cards, no last-minute gifts to avoid a scene, no quietly paid bills. Instead, a silent realization came. The one they always overlooked was actually holding everything together. The whole system worked because I was in it. And now I was gone. Not because I made a scene. Not because I slammed a door. I just left quietly. They always called me strong because I never asked for anything. Because I showed up even when not invited. Because I forgave even when no one apologized. But the truth was, I wasn't strong. I was just tired. And that's a huge difference. They didn't lose a problem child. They lost the one who held everything up. The one they thought would always be there, because she always had been. But maybe I was just the first. The first to be forgotten. The first to be used. And the first to leave.